This is Houston. Say again, please.
5. Houston, we had a problem. We had a main B plus undervolt.
0. Roger, main B undervolt. Okay, stand by 13. We're looking.
Hello and welcome to this first UFAH conference where we actually have some attendees with us today on the sideline. This is first time we are trying this new concept, so we are rather excited and we don't know how this is going to end up today, but let's get started. Let me present from one end David Gannet in the top left corner. Hello, David.
Good morning. Hello.
And below David, we have Martine Graney, founder of Mars.red on Facebook. Hi, Martine.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Martine.
And next to Martine, we have founder of Forbidden Knowledge and Anunnaki History, Billy Carson. Hi, Billy.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Billy.
We are all fine. And in the bottom, we have Chris Maroney from Mars Anomalies.
Good afternoon, everybody.
And I should bring you all some greetings from UFAH. He couldn't be here due to a hurricane where he lives, and Rami Bar Ilan has to cancel also due to some personal issues he had. But we are ready to get started, and what we will show you today is some pictures that we will present one by one. And we will start with David Gannet's picture, and you have seen the pictures, all of you, from the website, from the link I sent to you. David, first of all, I want to hear your words. What's your description of this picture you sent us?
Well, we've all found any number of blocks and pillars and segments of buildings that are covered with what appear to be carvings of letters and numbers and figures of all types. We could probably put together an entire video amongst us of just those items. This particular block really stood out to me because of the light angle. It made the carvings very clear, very easy to see. And to my eye and to my way of thinking, those are artificial. An intelligent entity carved those, and they are very similar to carvings I have seen elsewhere on what I consider to be remnants of temples. And I just particularly liked this one because of the light angle. It made it very easy to see. Most of what we find on Mars are just remnants, are just shattered remnants of whatever catastrophe it is that overtook the entire planet. And very rarely do we find complete buildings or even semi-complete buildings, although TJ, you seem to be an expert at doing that. You find them all the time. But so I have an eye to looking for blocks, remnants, things which have archaeological significance. That's what my eye is kind of trained for. And I simply selected this because I felt it was a good example of an archaeological remnant depicting very clearly, to my eye, carving.
That's fine. Let me hear you, Martine. What's your thoughts on David's picture?
Well, David's absolutely right. I mean, it was some kind of catastrophe. I mean, there's just collapsed structures everywhere, and we're seeing bits and pieces from what were probably quite important buildings. I mean, these carvings and inscriptions are on everything. I just can't believe how many we're coming across in this area. And in fact, how many we are being allowed to see. I was trying to sort of see if I could see some kind of clarity on those inscriptions, some kind, repetition of pattern. But yeah, I was thinking it could be writing, it could be some kind of messaging. There's just no way of knowing. But no, you're absolutely right. This couldn't be anything but something artificial. It's fascinating.
Okay.
Very good, David.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a very interesting image because it actually has caught the light, just as he said. The lighting is perfect. You know, sometimes what happens when NASA comes across these types of anomalies, they try to take photos of these anomalies with the shadow,
Right.
so that we can't really pick up what's there. Yeah, in this particular situation, we're very fortunate to be able to actually see the lighting on it. As you guys have known, if you've seen some of my anomalies, I've found quite a few anomalies that have had really clear writing on them, or writing that I've burned out. This one, I love it because it shows what I found before is actually true, because they match almost identically in terms of the type of glyphs that are here. And one thing that David actually mentioned as well was the fact that there's always the same exact type of a pattern where you have glyphs, or the combination of the of actual depictions of little stories. I think they're a little, you know, like in this particular one, you can see some type of an object. It looks like an animal, which is doing something towards another animal, but then you have, you know, these glyphs all around it. And what's really amazing is these glyphs go on for, I don't even know how far. Every angle, every square inch of every broken piece of stone or structure that's there has these patterns or these glyphs or whatever you want to call them actually on them. And they've spared, I mean, there's no space left. Everything is covered. And if you look to the back left of the actual blown up image, you will actually see what appears to be a carved animal laying there on the sand. I don't know if it's a rotted animal or a carved stone animal, but it actually, if you use your magnifying glass, you can see that it actually has teeth. But on the front part of it, if you take a real close look, it looks like somebody carved these same glyphs into the, I don't know, to the head structure of it as well. So this whole area is just a complete, it reminds me of Puma Punku, where you have what appears to be blocks strewn everywhere. And but you can tell because of the angles and the geometry that this definitely is a site where intelligent beings put this together at one point and carved all these amazing glyphs on here in these stories. And I would love to be able to just land there and do some research and try to piece together a full story as to exactly what happened. But it's an amazing catastrophe, and we're really fortunate that David was able to pull this one out. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate this.
You bet, and those are really good points. One of the things we've all noticed, I think, is that when you focus on a particular anomaly, that almost inevitably surrounding it, all around, there are other anomalies. And we try to focus on the main one, but my gosh, you can go into a picture and stay there all day because there's stuff scattered everywhere.
Yeah,
exactly. I would like to hear Chris Maroney. What's your thoughts on this image? And before you start, I just saw that Neville Thompson was getting online, so I hope to have him with us within a few minutes. Chris, let's hear your thoughts on this wonderful picture of David's.
Well, I don't know if I can add much more than what David and Billy's already said, but I mean, just looking at that photo, like he said, I mean, you're seeing 90-degree angles. You're seeing things that almost look like cubes or parts of walls and hieroglyphs. I mean, and like you said, it's not just a main anomaly. You can see a bunch of things strewn all over the place, and that's why everybody's come to the conclusion that Mars definitely had some kind of catastrophic event. So, and I mean, I could just look at this picture, and I could just see tons of things laying all over the ground that are just not normal. They're just not natural occurring things. And I'm looking at that main picture right there you've got, and that just, I mean, it looks like hieroglyphs. I mean, what else could it be? See, if it's on Earth, scientists like to say, oh, it's an ancient civilization. You see it here on Mars. Oh, that's just geological crap. It's just nothing. Don't worry about it. So, but this here, absolutely. I mean, I could see all kinds of shapes, hieroglyphs, and what looks like definitely not natural, especially that other piece you've got right next to that square little box on the lower left. You can see these long striations, these pieces. They look like they're connected to each other, so on and so forth. So, yeah, definitely not natural.
One of the things I found very interesting, too, you probably all know about this, but of course, Cairo in Egyptian means Mars.
Mars.
Yep.
And of course, we see the analogs across the board to ancient Egyptian architecture, beliefs, everything, and we see it reflected continually on Mars. I would think that as the ancient Egyptians did, that the ones on Mars were painted, that in their original condition, the hieroglyphs were painted various colors and statues. And it was all very colorful and very lifelike, but spending however many centuries in a sandblast environment, we find very little color evident, although we do still find carved objects with quite a bit of color on them. And what that is, I don't know, but perhaps.
Yeah.
We just got our Gigapan master, Neville Thompson, with us here. I need to get a camera on Neville. We got Neville here. Hello and welcome, Neville.
Wakey, wakey.
You just came in the right time because we were talking about David's amazing picture. Have you got the link with all the images in so you can give us your comments on David's picture?
Right, hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Just carry on talking. I'll find it. Okay.
Okay, and we announced that we have some editing time here.
Just following on from what you said, David, about evidence of paint on these rocks. I've come across that. There's quite a bit of red and blue and green.
Yes. Red, blue, and green.
Just wondering where they get the pigments from.
Well, they're probably mineral and vegetable pigments, just like we get them here. But so strangely enough, I mean, so many of the pigments that were used by the ancient Egyptians and also by the Mayans are still brilliant and viable today.
Yeah, especially the lapis lazuli.
We don't make anything equivalent to that.
Yeah, it's fabulous, isn't it? It really is. But no, this is great. And also these hieroglyphic shapes on the rocks. I mean, isn't it surprising how often you get familiar looking shapes, you know, like that 5 shape that keeps turning up on every
5, the 2, the 3, the S shape.
These numerical, just these numbers periodically in like 3s and just all kinds of just numbers just on these rocks and out of nowhere. Where are they coming from, you know?
It's incredible. I mean, obviously our brains want to associate these symbols and signs with things we're familiar with on Earth, but it's just fascinating. I do wonder whether there were these strong links anyway, way back.
My personal opinion is that the ancient Martians were us. We colonized the planet and many other planets millennia ago. We had electrogravitic flight. We find evidence of that not only in carvings but in out-of-place artifacts and various other types of things we find in the museums. And we have so many analogs in what we're finding on Mars to Earth that it's just really hard for me to think that, well, we're looking at our ancestors. We're not looking at aliens. We're looking at our ancestors.
I'm really pleased to hear you say that.
And you are so right about that, if you ask me. I would like to hear Neville's thoughts on your picture. Are you ready now, Neville? Yes.
I found many pieces with carvings on, and I think that's from 710. Actually, that's from where I actually found the ruins of a house. It's like the front portion of a house. You can see the V roof, and I think that's just in front of it because it's from 710. That's from
it's from your Gigapan.
Yeah. I can remember the pan because it was a very long one, wasn't it? Yeah, and on that pan, like there's loads of stuff. There's loads of like carvings. There's loads of like windows in the sides of the rocks and that. You know that I think it was that pan that that little odd coloured thing was found in the rocks that Michael Ivy found, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, the crab-like thing.
Yeah. So there's lots of different things there, like, but yeah, everything's a lot smaller as well. I'm not saying that like the little tiny micro-pie, them little tiny ones that everybody sees, but they're smaller, about, I would say about 8 to 12 inches high or something, you know. The buildings, so they could be about maybe 5 to 6 inches high or something like that. I'm not saying really tiny.
Miniature, aren't they? Miniature.
Yeah, but I've found different size buildings too. Like, you've got your huge buildings and you've got your small your small stuff, you know. So really, what I'm thinking is, it was two sizes of
beings
on Mars, you know. They could have been stretched over a long period of time, or they could have been coexistent both together, you know. There could have been, you know, but we're finding loads and loads of, I mean, we do find loads and loads of heads and carvings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it's kind of like, you know, like these Indian temples and things like that, you say, where they're really highly carved and highly, they've got, like, there could be like Indian to Aztec, to Mayan kind of people, you know what I mean, or that type of in that type of
that kind, yeah, that era sort of thing.
The era of technology, not like advanced, but like old, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, we could be in a part of Mars where it's an old part of Mars, like we have on Earth. We have old parts of Earth that have been
good point,
left alone, and that we are just seeing like the ancient stuff, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a very interesting theory.
A vast array of different, what could possibly be different cultures. I mean, you know, I mean, for us, for those of us that are seeing beings, they seem to represent different eras in our history. I mean, some of the heads that I've found look Polynesian to me. You know, that big head that was on the side of one of the beings? I mean, he's got a magnificent face. I don't have it in hand, so I can't show you now. But
I think there were as many races and cultures represented there as we might have on Earth.
Exactly.
And we're finding those cultural indicators as the rovers explore different areas. And you know, I think everybody back in their mind is thinking, well, it's just all one culture. It's all just one ruins and everything. No, it's just like there's a multitude of cultures, a multitude of artistic interpretations, a multitude of architecture, you name it. And
I believe too that we've got an overlap of evolution as well, of different beings evolving, and you know, they're living in different areas on the planet that suit their particular conditions.
We've just really got to remember, okay, the rover is in an ancient part of Mars, like a big city that once was, you know, like a big one. So in our cities, we've got different cultures. We've got, like in America, we've got part of like Chinatown. It's totally different. And then once the rover moves to another part, the scenery changes, you know what I mean? Because maybe there's a different type of people lived in that part of them.
That's right.
You know?
I'm going to interrupt you here because we have to move on. Diana Van Beaver has a question. I see here. Diana, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yes, I wrote the question. I asked why NASA does not admit the obvious. You know, I mean, it's just like extremely obvious what's going on or what happened in Mars, and they just don't. It's just like ignore it.
Yeah.
So they know, and I understand that maybe they don't want to create a panic, a global panic or something. I don't know, but they should admit something. You know.
Diana, I have a theory now that in the last few weeks we have seen such a concentration of evidence everywhere. It's astonishing. There doesn't seem to be a square yard where we're not actually seeing some kind of anomaly. And I honestly am beginning to think now that we are being allowed to see quite a bit of evidence. In fact, it's almost like a DIY disclosure. You know, and I think it's sort of letting them off the hook in a way, isn't it? Because I think they're
well, if enough people see this stuff, it desensitizes the public. So therefore, if it does ever become, you know, public, then it's not a big shock. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, there could be that much there that they're trying to hide. They can't hide everything.
Everything.
You know, if they're trying to hide the whole lot, it would be pretty pointless going out there and taking photos because they'd then just be covering the whole lot up, you know. I mean, when I make the pans, I can tell what bits are being altered, and you can tell, you can see bits are being blurred out, bits are being pasted and stuff like that. I mean, some of the rocks you see, you think, Harry, that rock shouldn't really be there. It doesn't look as if it should be there.
It's out of place, yeah.
The shadows that get and stuff like that, you know.
There is so much going on. It's impossible to follow with everything that's going on now. But anyway, guys, we have to go on, and we have to move on to the next picture, and that's a picture that Martina has chosen, and I recognize this as one of her own that she presented in Martian Genesis. Martina, tell us about this amazing picture you have.
10.
Okay, we've had a problem here.
8, 7.
This is Houston, say again, please.
5.
Houston, we've had a problem.
3.
We've had a main B plus
0.
Roger, main B undervolt. Okay, stand by 13, we're looking.